Hello everybody, welcome back to yet another video. Today I want to show you the new 2018 released 12.9-inch iPad Pro. Let's get into it. I'll start this one off with the most obvious new element of the 2018 iPad Pro. Apple is continuing their trend of minimizing bezels. The front is covered with a beautiful 2732 by 2048 pixel display, bringing the device to a pixel density of 264 pixels per inch. It gets much closer to each edge, improving the screen-to-body ratio substantially. To fit the overall design, its corners are rounded. The actual panel gets very bright, and thanks to its LCD technology, it trades some saturation for color accuracy. Still, the colors are very nice, balanced, and saturated enough to make any form of media consumption or creation a treat. Also, the balance between resolution and efficiency is well chosen. Like in previous models, the display is very sharp, and you can never make out individual pixels until you get unnaturally close to the panel. Still, the resolution is low enough as to not hurt performance. Returning also is the 120Hz ProMotion technology featured in last year's 10.5-inch iPad Pro. The 120Hz refresh rate is used dynamically when needed and makes a noticeable difference. It looks extremely smooth and gives everyday tasks like scrolling through menus or documents a pleasant new feel. The true value of this was only noticeable to me when I looked at older panels without this technology, which looked choppy and sometimes even laggy when directly compared. Also returning is True Tone for environmentally adapted display colors. I personally don't like this as it does mess up color accuracy, but it does work nicely and you might like it depending on how you use your iPad. Everything else has also received a redesign. The iPad is now much more flat with symmetrical, rounded corners, giving it more of an industrial feeling. This is obviously subjective, but I very much like and prefer this over the previous generations. The top still features a power button and 2 of 4 speaker grills. Courageously, Apple have removed the headphone port, which also used to be found up here. The left side is blank, the right one includes our now more simply designed volume buttons and the charging pad for the second generation Apple Pencil. On the bottom we get our second pair of speaker grills and the USB Type-C charging port. Finally, the back features a similar design to previous iPads. It is still made of aluminium and has the same layout, but some details have changed. Both Wi-Fi and LTE models now have antenna bands. The LTE model also has them on the bottom. The lines themselves have also changed, they sit lower and now curve with the corners. Underneath, the camera bump is both larger and more seamlessly integrated into the back. The font for the iPad text has slightly changed, and under this we now have the smart connector, previously found on the left side. One of the headlining new features of this new iPad Pro is its USB Type-C port, replacing the Lightning connector for the first time ever on an iOS device. This port now handles any physical connection to other devices and accessories, and in theory opens endless amount of options if the software allows it. Right now, the port already allows single cable connection to third-party peripherals such as cameras, microphones, speakers, keyboards, and displays with up to 5K resolution. But this might not be as big of an upgrade as you think. It simplifies the workflow with the iPad, no question, but most of these features were available with the Lightning port, of course using the right adapter or cable. The true capabilities of the USB Type-C port with its insane speed and power will only be noticeable when all of the devices around it also get one, and most importantly, iOS gets more versatile. One important drawback is that currently external drive support is very limited. Provided you are using a supported file system, the drive will be recognized, but only if it has photos or videos on it, and only those will show up in the Photos app. Other files like text documents, audio files, CAD files, etc. can't be imported and won't even show up, as there is no file management option upon plugging in a drive. Now it is obvious that Apple are still following their goal of making file management completely wireless, with the port only being used for actual accessories like the ones listed before. But the time where we can transfer large files like videos with similar speeds to the USB Type-C connector wirelessly are still far away, and a file management option would be important for the meantime. I like the USB Type-C port, no question, but can only use it to a small amount of its potential with the current implementation. Moving on, the iPad Pro now features Apple's Face ID technology as opposed to Touch ID before. This is technically more safe, as the failure rate is substantially lower when compared to Touch ID. It's also easier to use. Usually, it just works without you even noticing it. It's a little slower than Touch ID, that's a fact, but not enough to be a problem, at least for me. Overall, this is a great upgrade. I often go climbing with friends, and after that, my fingerprints sometimes aren't readable, which would lead Touch ID to fail. While this is a very personal issue, I think we all have had times when our fingers were not properly on the sensor or dirty and not readable. This doesn't happen with Face ID. Following a yearly trend, the iPad's performance has also been greatly improved. It now features Apple's new 2.48 GHz A12X CPU. This is an 8-core chip with 4 cores built for maximum performance and 4 for battery-efficient, low-energy tasks. The iPad also includes 4GB of RAM in models with up to 512GB of storage and 6GB in the 1TB storage option, though the extra 2GB are only used for storage management according to Apple. These specifications push the iPad's benchmarks and performance to new levels. In Geekbench, the 2018 iPad Pro got a single-core score of 5007 and a multi-core score of 17,923. This is a significant improvement over the 2017 iPad Pro's numbers. They are also starting to approach Apple's baseline 2018 MacBook Pro score and already crushes the new MacBook Air's results. Of course, these numbers are mostly trivial. First of all, thanks to the passive cooling of the iPad Pro, it can keep up these performance peaks for only short amounts of time. And without the right software support, no Geekbench score is useful in real life. But the numbers certainly show us that hardware-wise, replacing a laptop is possible and would not sacrifice a lot, if anything. The iPad also does all of this while retaining good battery life. It's not crazy, but you can comfortably get through a day of heavy use. That is editing and streaming videos and using multiple apps in split screen almost constantly, and still end up with about 15 to 20% left at the end of the day. The camera also got a nice upgrade. I know that taking pictures and videos with your iPad looks stupid, and it's not often done because of that. But if you wanted to, say for a small video production or something similar, you certainly could. You get a nice, big viewfinder and the benefit of being able to edit and adjust locally. The actual sensor is similar to that found in the iPhone XR. It's a single lens 12 megapixel unit with a fairly standard focal length of 1.8. There is no optical image stabilization, so you will need a tripod for video. Thanks to Apple's good and improved image processing built into the A12X CPU, however, both pictures and videos look great, especially for a tablet. Photos have good color accuracy, are well saturated, and the autofocus works fast. You obviously start to lose detail once light goes away, but the quad element True Tone Flash helps out with this at least a little. Videos can be recorded with up to 4K at 60 frames per second, which can be done for as long as you want, given you have enough storage. Slow motion goes down to 240 frames per second at 1080p, which can make for some really cool shots if you set them up well. There is definitely room for improvement here, but for a camera meant for augmented reality mainly, this performs nicely, and I will be making an entire video just on this camera and iPad soon, uploaded to this channel. The front camera is less interesting, but does get the job done well. It records at up to 1080p at 60 frames per second, and again, thanks to the A12X chip, gets Apple's portrait image feature and can now record an emoji. I don't take many selfies, especially not on an iPad, but for the occasional FaceTime chat, it is more than sufficient. Some smaller but still notable features include a new Bluetooth 5.0 technology for increased range and potential dual audio device support. You now also get 5 microphones on the iPad, including one on screen in the Face ID sensor array. These help with improving audio recording quality and background noise cancelling. The iPad Pro now also includes a power out feature through its USB Type-C port. You can now charge smaller devices like phones with your iPad Pro. Apple also improved the speaker quality, though not that much. They now get a little louder and stay clear for a little longer, but overall still sound as great as the previous iPad Pro generations. And last, Apple are now offering an optional 1TB storage option for people that need even more storage than before on their iPad. The new iPad's operating system, iOS 12, is probably the least interesting part about this new iPad. If you have used any other iOS 12 device, iPhone or iPad, you know what's going on here. Don't get me wrong, iOS is very polished and I really enjoy using it, but in my opinion there's nothing here that says professional any more than other older iPads that are still supported. You still get the same basic icon-based home screen and same set of pre-installed apps that create a solid basis but don't do much for most professional workflows. Also, as we have known before, there is no customization here. What you see is what you get. The Apple ecosystem is nice, no question, but if you're like me and don't use an iPhone, only a small part of it actually works, even if you have other Apple products. I won't go into it more than that here. Watch any review on iOS 12 out there and you know what you're getting here. Almost nothing is exclusive to the iPad Pro. I think the software experience is very much dependent on the third-party applications. If you can use this device in your profession really depends on whether there are applications available for it on the App Store or not. Like previous iPad models, Apple has released a selection of accessories along with the new iPad Pro. The standard cases are now called folios. This is a nice way to say it protects less of your device, thanks to the size of your iPad now being exposed. You also have 2 more iPad Pro specific options like the previous years, the Smart Keyboard and the second generation Apple Pencil. The Smart Keyboard is a normal, low-travel compact keyboard with decent key size but no number pad. I did not purchase one as it really is optional. The software keyboard on the iPad is nice and large as is, and the bonus of having a physical board is only needed in my opinion if you are really planning on writing a lot on your iPad. Even then you might not need it. I wrote this script on the software keyboard and had no problem typing with a decent speed. The Apple Pencil is a different story. There's a reason why you see it in every ad for the new iPads, and also why most people who try the iPad as their primary device use it. The pencil itself has been nicely updated, with a now matte finish and smaller, lighter package. The end cap and lightning port are gone, the pencil now charges and syncs wirelessly using the flat side on the pencil and magnetic charging pad on the iPad Pro. If you want to know more about this new Apple Pencil, check out my full review, which will be uploaded soon after this video. In my opinion, to use the iPad Pro for most professional workflows, the pencil is necessary. Even if you never draw anything on your iPad, the pencil is often used as a more accurate pointing device than your finger. When editing video and retouching photos, this was the most useful for me, but I am sure it will be equally important in other areas. I also enjoyed using it to take handwritten notes, which often allow me to be more creative than when I am typing, but that's obviously a personal thing. I believe that the iPad Pro can replace a laptop in many professions, and you wouldn't lose much if you did so. Plus, you would gain the advantages of the more direct input and style of use that come with an iPad. But in my opinion, that can only work well if you can set up your work around the iPad. Think of a person setting up a new business and now deciding on what devices to use, or someone trying to all around modernize their workflow. These people could truly make use of the advantages of an iPad. On the other hand, if you use your laptop as a side computer next to your main PC for instance, I don't think that choosing an iPad Pro over a new laptop will gain you an advantage. The style of use with an iPad is too different to that of a fully fledged Windows PC, and generally I think that iOS is still too closed down to work well in most existing professional workflows. So this was my take on the new iPad Pros for 2018, make sure to tell me yours down in the comments below. I will be having a video coming up soon on creating an entire video with recording footage, audio, editing and uploading all done only on the iPad Pro. So if you're interested, make sure to subscribe. Anyways, thanks for watching and have a nice day.